Hello and welcome to this Oak Tree English video on how to write a report for functional skills, GCSE and life. This is the second part of a series. The Oxford Dictionary defines report as an account given of a particular matter, especially in the form of an official document after thorough investigation or consideration by an appointed person or body. So when you see the question on an exam asking you to write a report, you should start thinking about your audience and purpose. Audience can be analysed on a kind of matrix along with style of writing. One axis runs from formal to informal, determining how much slang or contractions one might use. The other axis runs from personal to impersonal, depending on how many people you're talking to. For example, if it's a general audience, such as a talk or a report, it is impersonal. If it's such as an article, or as I previously said, a report. If it's written to one individual recipient, such as a letter or an email, then it's personal. There's a letter, there's the email. The report falls into impersonal and formal. The purpose of the text will fall into one of four rough groups: persuasive, informative, descriptive, or instructive, or PIDI for short. Persuasive is there to persuade, informative to inform, to give information, descriptive to describe, to draw a picture in your mind, and instructive is there, can you guess? That's right, to instruct, to give you instructions on how to do something. There will often be some overlap between the groups. A report, however, falls squarely in the informative category. Once you've identified your audience and purpose for your report, which should take no more than 15 to 30 seconds, it is time to make your plan. You never go into battle without a strategy. Never write a report without a plan. There are many ways to do this. You can see my video on how to plan for details of that. But the two which may work best for you are either planning like an artist or planning like a lawyer. If you have an artistic mind, then you can plan using a mind map. If you're more analytical in your approach, then a lawyerly plan with each sentence and paragraph numbered, may your friend. Have a look at this suggestion for this functional skills style question. So let's read the question. Write a report for Lottie Smith about the canteen. In your report you should say what you like and dislike about the food. Comment on the service and appearance. Suggest improvements which could be made. So it tells you your audience, who is Lottie Smith, the canteen manager. The style is a report, and even the topic is a canteen. Therefore, it just takes you minutes to put your thoughts onto paper, making the writing so much easier. You can outline your paragraph on what, there we go, so there's canteen. You can outline your paragraph on what food you like or dislike. Do you think there should be more vegan options? Do you think there should be less vegan options? What do you like about the food? What do you dislike about the food? Then you will have a paragraph on the service. Is Lottie Smith particularly unattractive? No, hang on, you shouldn't write that. With you, you would write, is the canteen a pleasant place to sit and eat or not? And of course, you then would give improvements, what improvements you could make, and write a paragraph on what could be done to improve the canteen, possibly fire Lottie Smith. I've never met Lottie Smith. I have no dog in this fight. So you see, you can then put what you think is appropriate sticking out of these things and these bubbles, and you can put your thoughts down. The alternative is to plan like a lawyer. That's to plan each paragraph and then subdivide it into individual sentences. So once again, we're looking at this functional skills question. Here's the information beforehand. I'm concerned that not enough people are using the canteen, so I want to make some changes. Please write me a report telling me what you think about the food as well as the service and environment, yada, yada, yada. That's what Lottie Smith, the canteen manager, says. And then you've got the task, which tells you actually the same thing again. You can break this down into paragraphs and then further into individual sentences like this. You always start with an introduction, where you tell them what you're going to tell them, and end with a conclusion, where you tell them what you've told them. In between, you just have to tell them. Let's have a look at that. So you'd write something, a paragraph about food, paragraph about service, paragraph about improvements. So far, so good. So what are you going to write about these things? Well, glad you asked. In your introduction, you rephrase the question. Use your own words. Don't use the same words that you used that were used to create the question. That's really lazy. So rephrase the question. Then you write, you'd say you're going to talk about the food. Then you're going to say you're going to talk about the service. You could also say I'm going to talk about the appearance, or I'm going to talk about I'm going to give some improvements, except not I. This report will. You don't speak in the first person in a report. For food, you might say more chips, less veg, because, you know, we're English. Then perhaps for service, you might write clean uniforms, because they're all pretty mucky at the moment, or kind staff who don't spit in your food. For improvements, you might suggest hiring Jamie Oliver, who likes cooking in canteens, I think. Or you might just suggest having a string quartet playing some Vivaldi in the corner. That's just a suggestion. That's what they have at the Four Seasons. At the Four Seasons, string quartet, Vivaldi. No, forget it. So then you would conclude, and you would conclude by going back over what you've already said. This is where you tell them what you've told them. So you'd rephrase the question again. This is an opportunity for using extra vocabulary. You would talk about the food and the service, and you would also talk about the improvements. Just make mention of the fact that you've done them, that you've said these things. That way, there is no question in your examiner's mind that you have addressed all three of the points that you have been asked to comment on. Now, I call this planning like a lawyer. Reports have a number of organisational features by which you can recognise them. And some of these you should try and reproduce when writing, some you needn't. So, for example, graphics, such as graphs, charts, maps, are all common organisational features found in a report, but you're not expected to use these in your own writing. Don't sit down and waste time drawing fictitious graphs of growth of black mold on the walls of the canteen. Just don't do that. Features you will be expected to make use of include things like numbering, as you see on this example. You've got 1, 2. 2 is methodology, 2.1 experimental sampling design, 2.2. This is a numbering system. Equally, bullet points is something that you can use very easily, particularly if you're making a list of something. Just use the bullet points. It's extra kudos that you don't need to put too much effort into. You will require a heading, in this case example format for a technical report on WQM, whatever WQM may be. I've no idea. I'll just rip this off the internet. Don't tell anyone. So headings, and of course the other one that comes along with that is of course subheadings. As you see, you've got subheadings heading up each paragraph, and where you've got two things in a paragraph, two paragraphs in a section, they're split up with the same numbering system. The numbering system should actually resemble the lawyerly plan we looked at in the last slide: 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 2, 2.1, 2.2, etc., etc. Bullet points are there to present a lot of information quickly and easily. These don't always require full sentences, so ensure that you have enough examples of simple, compound and complex sentences elsewhere. If you don't know what simple, compound and complex sentences are, I've got a video for that. Look for the sentences video. Sentences and paragraphs. The heading is where you sum up the topic and direction of the report in a few words at the top. Unlike an article, this is not a moment to get witty and creative. Reports are notoriously dry. This should be marked out somehow, such as larger writing or at least underlined. Subheadings and straplines can give structure to your text by indicating what each paragraph is about, but please make sure that they're recognizable as subheadings so they're not confused with topic sentences. I made a video with this thumbnail, which organizes language devices into 4 areas as an alternative to the normal da forest mnemonic. Those areas are content, language, imagery, and pronunciation. In each category, there are appropriate devices to use in reports, and there are things that you probably shouldn't bother. So in the content section, there are facts. Facts are statements that can be tested, as opposed to opinions that are believed regardless of the evidence. Remember that you needn't do extensive primary research before you enter the exam. The facts have to be testable, but no one will actually test. As I've said before, 85% of all statistics are made up, including this one, and in an exam that is acceptable because they're testing your writing skills and not your knowledge of the topic. Unless, of course, they are testing your knowledge of the topic, in which case don't make anything up because it will get checked. A report must be a document reporting facts. That is absolutely the crucial thing to remember about a report. Examples may also be used to clarify a point. So there's content. In the category of language, you'll often see the rule of 3 employed effectively, sometimes with the device of bullet points. This is where you say 3 things together for emphasis, but don't try and get too flowery with it. This is a report. It's meant to be dull. This is not a creative writing. There's less call for imagery than in other forms of writing, especially narratives, but using a few common similes for scale can help, such as an area of rainforest as big as a football pitch is lost to deforestation every 6 seconds in Brazil. That's a simile, but don't start getting too bogged down in metaphor and things like that, because you're not being asked for that. As for pronunciation devices such as rhyme, alliteration, onomatopoeia are much less called for in a report than in more entertaining pieces of writing. If they are implied, it is a nice bonus, but don't try and shoehorn them in, to use a metaphor. So, in conclusion, to write a report for an exam, remember that it should be a formal and impersonal, informative piece of writing. It should be planned out, either like an artist or like a lawyer, depending on your own personality, and should include a headline, subheadings, numbering, and bullet points. Make sure it is brimming over with facts, statistics, and relevant details. Notice the rule of 3 there? Whatever happens, good luck. Enjoy the process, and yes, see you in the next video, which will be remarkably similar to this one. I hope you've enjoyed this video on writing reports. If so, please remember to like, share and subscribe. If you would like to see any other topics covered, please let me know in the comment section. Thanks, bye.